think wins in a fight, you or Prime Floyd?
Me?
No questions?
Why would you think that I would say Floyd?
Not another guy in the world that can beat you right now. That's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd. I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao because he got these opportunities so late.
That's the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late.
Bud's been the baddest man for 12 years. But no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the baddest man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fight.
Terence Crawford didn't back down when asked about Floyd Mayweather's remarks that he could beat him. With confidence, Crawford said he would get the better of Mayweather, even if Floyd were in his prime. He highlighted that his career speaks for itself, built on taking every challenge without hesitation. According to Crawford, nobody can accuse him of avoiding tough opponents. And if a showdown with Mayweather ever became realistic, he'd be ready to take it head on.
When you start going like this, then that's when Floyd started taking over.
What do you want your legacy to be like when your career is all said and done? What do you want people to remember you for?
Oh man, everybody's asking me the question. I always be like, man, it's whatever it's their opinion. Everybody gonna have a different opinion of Terence Crawford, but one thing they can't say is that I ducked anyone. I fought everyone that was available to fight.
Boxing analyst Dan Rafael believes Terence Crawford has already secured his place in history, even if he never steps in the ring again. He notes that Crawford has accomplished everything a fighter could aim for, cleaning out divisions, unifying championships, and consistently dismantling top-tier opponents without showing real vulnerability. According to Rafael, once a fighter reaches this level, the focus shifts from proving greatness to preserving it and enjoying the respect that comes with it. In his view, Crawford's resume has gone beyond what most thought possible, and chasing extra fights won't change his legacy. His recent run of dominance alone is enough to solidify him as one of the sport's all-time greats.
What does a Terence Crawford do now? Like, what's the next thing that he does? Because you look around and go, is the only way that he really gets that ultimate chance if he goes up again? And do you say, what do you do?
I don't quite. Yeah, I mean, he was asked those questions at the press conference. He made two things clear. One, he's not going back to 154, and I say that because some people suggested about possibly pursuing a fight with Ennis, who has his debut in the weight class coming up.
Yeah.
That's probably unlikely. He's not going to go back down in weight. And I mean, no disrespect to Ennis, but Ennis is a guy that's known within the diehards of boxing. He's not in any way known beyond the boundaries of the hardcore boxing fan. So yeah. I don't know if that makes sense for a lot of different reasons for him. Not to say I wouldn't, as a boxing fan, enjoy watching the fight. So, yeah. But I don't think he's going back to 154. He was asked about like a Benavidez at 175, and he acknowledged like that guy's really big. I mean, that's maybe a bridge too far. He already went up to 2 weight classes to fight Canelo at 68. So it feels to me like he can either stay at 168 and defend this championship and look to the same types of names that were being thrown around as the types of guys that would have been in the mix for Canelo had he won the fight. And he's going to have mandatories. Obviously, that's the first thing they'll have to look at. I mean, I don't know if he's not going to necessarily keep the belts if he's forced into a mandatory. He doesn't need the belts at this point, but there might be something appealing to him. For example, and Billy had a great fight on the undercard, although he's been ordered to fight a rematch in that fight. Mm-hmm. That was, fight of the year against Lester Martinez, candidate for fight of the year.
Terence Crawford's dominant performance over Canelo Alvarez has sparked one of the most intense debates in recent boxing memory. Fans and pundits immediately drew comparisons to Floyd Mayweather's victory over Canelo years earlier. The difference, of course, lies in timing. Mayweather defeated a young, less polished version of Canelo, while Crawford took apart a far more experienced and accomplished champion. This contrast has led some to suggest Crawford's win carries greater weight. Still, analyst Luke Thomas urged caution with those comparisons. He pointed out that Floyd's rise came much earlier. By the time he was Crawford's age, Mayweather was already a global star facing elite competition regularly. Crawford, in contrast, had to deal with promotional hurdles and less visibility, which delayed his recognition. Because of that, his peak years are unfolding later in his career. Thomas argues that while Crawford's victory over Canelo might appear more dominant, it doesn't automatically elevate him above Mayweather historically. Timing, career trajectory, and the different paths they took all play a key role in shaping that conversation.
This was a masterclass. One guy with outrageous skill offensively and defensively, simply making another very good fighter look lesser than. This was the other part. The people who watch MMA and then try to watch boxing through an MMA lens, I don't know what to tell you. You're actually missing the point. The kind of specific details and the depth of the technical ability far surpasses even what you can get at the highest level of MMA, because they don't have that level of skill. There is no equivalent in MMA to Bud Crawford, because there cannot be. Bud is the most talented boxer I've seen since Mayweather.
I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
To be fair to Floyd, he obviously had hand problems in his whole welterweight run, and it's why he took that long stretch off in 2007, 2008, 2009 area, and Floyd's brilliance to be able to be just as great in some ways at that age. We're not here trying to dunk on Floyd. When you get a victory like this, right now, straight up, Luke, you could say that there's not a welterweight, junior middleweight, or maybe even super middleweight. When you could say over like a 4-division stretch, Bud, cut down to any of these weights, that there's not another guy in the world that can beat you right now, that's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd, I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao, because he got these opportunities so late.
That's the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late. I find Bud to be as defensively sound as I've ever seen a fighter. He can find you. There's nowhere to hide with him.
Like Floyd, he has such control over the terms in there. It's just insane.
Buddy McGirt was one of the loudest voices praising Terence Crawford after his emphatic victory over Canelo Alvarez. In his view, Crawford delivered a flawless performance, dictating the pace from the opening bell and never allowing Canelo to get into rhythm or apply his trademark pressure. McGirt made it clear that the outcome was so decisive, there's no reason to even discuss a rematch, as the difference in skill and execution was on full display for everyone to see. He also highlighted the significance of this win for Crawford's career, noting that defeating a fighter of Canelo's caliber gives him the defining moment that cements his legacy. For McGirt, Crawford doesn't need to chase validation anymore. The dominant display against Canelo is proof enough that his name belongs among the all-time greats, and his story in the sport is already written in history.
Yes.
Like, what fight were they watching?
Right.
I mean, it's. I don't know, man. I don't know what some of these guys be doing in this game, man. Some people, in situations like that, they should ask them, listen, just turn in your license, bro. Because there's no way in hell the fight was that close.
Right.
I mean, come on, man. It's just, it's not fair. It's not fair. You get a guy like Terence got here and dominate from beginning to end, and then you find out he needed the last 2 rounds to win. That's scary, man.
It is, and you see how you just mentioned scary. Now, a lot of people are saying, buddy, that type of beating, he's not going to want a rematch. But looking at those scorecards and knowing that, hey, you wasn't too far behind, even though, he did mention that, he's better than Mayweather. But, I mean, what's your thoughts? Do you feel like that was such a beating that Canelo wouldn't want a rematch?
No, I think that, in all honesty, personally, I think that Canelo's at that stage in his career right now, that it's a rematch he don't need. He don't need it. You know what I mean? What we saw that night, that's the stage Canelo's at right now. He's fought everybody, he's did everything. You know what I mean? He passed the torch to the right guy. You know what I mean? He passed the torch to the right guy. You know what I mean? He lost it to Terence, fair and square, and he passed the torch. So, if you're gonna have another fight, cool, but you don't need to. You have nothing. He has nothing to prove. He fought Terence and nobody else would.
When people line up Terence Crawford against Floyd Mayweather, one theme that consistently surfaces is the mental edge Floyd carried into every fight. Analysts acknowledge Crawford's brilliance, his ability to switch stances seamlessly, make adjustments on the fly, and break down elite opponents with surgical precision. But they argue that Mayweather added something more: psychological warfare. Floyd had a way of controlling not just the exchanges inside the ring, but also the mindset of his opponents. He'd frustrate them, lure them into abandoning their game plan, and capitalize on the mistakes they made out of desperation. This layer of mental dominance is often described as the factor that truly set him apart. Crawford's skill set puts him on the doorstep of greatness beside Floyd. But many historians insist that the psychological mastery Mayweather displayed, both before and during his fights, remains a dimension that few in boxing history have ever matched.
I've ever seen. Bud, and this is just my opinion, is the baddest man I've seen wear boxing gloves. And here's why I say that. Here's why I say that. Bud is extremely skilled, right? Yet not as skilled as Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather made people look foolish, right? And so if I had to say who's the greatest I've seen, and Bud said it right, the best of an era and the best of an era, it's Floyd. But when I watched Bud against Canelo, there was this extreme skill on display, and there was a level of crazy that's different. There was a level of, and Floyd's extremely tough. Go back to Shane Mosley and the 2 punches he landed early in the fight and the way that he embarrassed him. I'm not saying that Floyd's not tough, Floyd's not a bad man, but there was domination inside that ring we saw this weekend. And there's no fear in him in the way that he's attacked, gaining notoriety. Bud's been the baddest man for 12 years. But no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the baddest man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fights and the better fights. And he was Errol Spence.
For more than 10 years, Terence Crawford has been displaying elite talent. Yet his quiet demeanor and refusal to chase attention kept him in the shadows for much of that time. While other fighters built their brands through trash talk and theatrics, Crawford chose to let his fists do the talking. That earned him respect from hardcore boxing fans. But it also meant he was overlooked by the mainstream audience, only in recent years, through headline victories over names like Errol Spence Jr. and Canelo Alvarez, as the wider public started to fully recognize his greatness. Still, some critics believe the spotlight arrived too late. Crawford is now in the later stages of his career, with limited time left to shape how history will remember him. The question remains, had he been given the same promotional push and visibility earlier, would his legacy already stand shoulder to shoulder with the sport's most iconic names?
How great he was. Canelo cemented him on what is the two-headed monster that marks the greatest of the 2000s. Floyd Mayweather is on that, and Bud Crawford is right next to him. I don't think we have to pick on who's better. I think they both dominated their eras equally.
Floyd Mayweather has often been accused of struggling to acknowledge the greatness of other boxing legends, even hesitating to put names like Muhammad Ali, who many regard as the sport's ultimate icon, above himself. Now, with Terence Crawford achieving milestones that place him in a similar conversation, questions about Floyd's pride and ego have resurfaced. Crawford's dominant victory over Canelo Alvarez has fueled debates that edge him closer to Mayweather's historical standing. For a figure as protective of his legacy as Floyd, such comparisons are not easy to embrace. Critics suggest that Mayweather has always thrived on being viewed as the singular standard of boxing excellence, and when another fighter begins to enter that same space, it touches a nerve. To many observers, this comes across less as confidence and more as insecurity, an unwillingness to share the spotlight as history begins to weigh in on Crawford's place among the greats.
Puts him on par with Floyd Mayweather Jr., and you know Floyd Mayweather Jr. doesn't like that. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is one of the biggest egos in the sport, so much so that he could not find a way to give Muhammad Ali credit as being a top 5 fighter and claimed that Roberto Duran sits above Muhammad Ali, right? Why? Because Floyd wants to be better than Muhammad Ali. He completely redid his image when he became Money Mayweather to pretty much copy from calling himself the GOAT, calling himself TBE, right? Whole thing. very disrespectful of Muhammad Ali when he was coming up, when after Floyd Mayweather Jr. wound up being at the top of the sport. So now that Terence Crawford has firmly placed himself at the top of boxing, and not just as the pound for pound fighter, right now, many people are saying, hey, shouldn't he be considered one of the greatest fighters of all time? Isn't this a realistic conversation we can have? So what does that do? That butts Terence Crawford right up against Floyd Mayweather. So when Floyd was asked a series of questions, right? Because Floyd has a fight coming up. I do believe it may be in January. I think it may be in January or early 2026, I believe is the time frame, where Floyd Mayweather Jr. is going to be fighting Mike Tyson in I believe this is going to be an exhibition.
Sean Porter sat down with Terence Crawford to discuss what truly motivated him to take on the biggest challenges in boxing. Crawford explained that for much of his career, critics questioned his ability to compete with the very best, often suggesting he wasn't ready for the elite stage. Instead of shying away from that doubt, he used it as fuel, seeking out opportunities to prove people wrong. His statement wins over fighters like Errol Spence Jr. and Canelo Alvarez weren't just career milestones, but also personal victories serving as definitive answers to years of skepticism.
Close to him when you want to, not when he wants you to. And you know what I mean? That's how it was.
I know, I'm sorry. I know this is bad production, but we don't need you to turn that phone to the side. I know, I'm thinking about Haiti right now. I'm like, he know better. That's better. Go ahead, Ant, go ahead.
Hey, but you know how, man, me and Sean, we know you personally. I had people telling me, nah, man, this is just a money grab. He just went up there for the money. I said, man, if you know this dude, but you mentally, bro, I put you in the same category as Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. I'm like, he wants to be great. Y'all want the money, but want to be great. Where that come from, man?
It's just me, you know what I mean? Like, I think all the greats is just born with that competitiveness, you know? And like I said, you know, a lot of people, they didn't want me to accomplish the feat over Canelo. It wasn't that it wasn't possible. They didn't want me to be the one to do it because I was the one that they was blackballing for years. I was the one that they said, you know, wasn't gonna make it to this table. I was the one that they said couldn't sell. I was the one that they said, you know, made bad business decisions. So of course they don't want me to be the one to make it to the top and then conquer.
Porter emphasized that what sets Crawford apart is his mindset. Instead of chasing the safer route, Crawford deliberately sought out the toughest challenges available, proving time and again that he belonged among boxing's elite. That willingness to embrace adversity, rather than avoid it, is what has elevated him into conversations about the all-time greats. His story isn't just about skill, it's also about resilience, determination, and a refusal to back down from any test.
All odds, because now this is a slap in the face to every person that ever wrote a bad article about me, about anything.
Probably the best spit of all.
And a lot of people get mad at me because I said, when it comes from pound for pound that I ever seen it in my lifetime, ever, I got Floyd and I got you. They're like, well, what about blah, blah, blah? I said, this is who I seen. I seen Bud, I seen Floyd. I can't talk about what happened in the 20s and the 40s. I can talk about what I seen now. Do you feel like, Bud, you stamped your legacy and we're going to forever say, well, you could have beat this person, you could beat that person, you feel like you did it?
Of course, it's definitely going to be, it's already written in the history books. Yeah. Like before, everybody was already comparing me and saying things like that, but hold on. Yeah.
I know, good job.
Okay. But now, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, so now he proving himself with a bigger, stronger guy in his weight division that he was undefeated in, that he was undisputed in, you know? So those things like that, you know, you can't ignore.
Hey man, how do you allow people not to put their limitations on you? Because when I gave motivation last week, I told them about like how you motivated me to start my own company. I remember you being in in my living in my kitchen, I'm going to start my own company. How do you allow no one else to put their limitations on Terence Floyd?
That wraps up today's video. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe, drop a like, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next update. Stay tuned, we'll be back with more soon.